Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Nerdic Pride here with another award-winning episode for my Blodeo. This is episode 2, my battle with COVID. Yes, I did test positive uh, for COVID at the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2020, unfortunately, which really sucks because I missed Christmas and New Year's, so I couldn't spend time with my family. I couldn't go to the Christmas party that we always eat to exchange our Christmas gifts for Secret Santa and then spend it with my nieces and nephews. And I couldn't do that again. Couldn't even drink on New Year's Eve. So that's what really sucked about this whole experience. Um, but I'm gonna talk you through what happened, how I felt, and for the most part, everything that's happened from when I got it up until now when I'm 100%, which is a major difference, by the way. When I called out from both jobs because I wasn't feeling well, I thought it was just the regular flu because I still had my sense of taste, my sense of smell. I didn't diarrhea or vomit or anything. The vomiting happened much later. Diarrhea never happened. So I called out. They asked me if it was COVID related. I'm like, I'm not sure. Probably not. I'm like, okay, keep us posted. So I had the cough and the runny nose. That was the first part, and then I had the chills, and then my whole body felt like like it was burning, like it was burning up, like I could feel it through my clothes and out. I had long sleeves on because I was constantly having chills because I was constantly cold, and I still felt it through my body, like when you touch your forehead and it's hot. Now picture that, but everywhere. I remember feeling it in my legs, and I was like, "This is crazy. This is this how having the flu was? Because it's been a long time since I had the flu or something like this bad." Then I told my sister the next day. She's like, "Have you ever had that before? Because there was like some parts of the COVID that had you do that." And I was like, "Maybe once." She was like, "You sure?" I'm like, "Yeah." At the time, I was trying to remember, like, yeah, it must have happened once before. And then after that, I thought I got better. I was like, oh yeah, just a few days, it'll be fine. I felt normal. There was no coughing, no chills, nothing. She was like, okay, like like, because some of her coworkers asked, like, yeah, some of them said like they would feel sick one day, and the next day they'll feel normal, and then the next day they just get worse. So I'm like, man, we'll see. And so I got worse. I was coughing up my lungs, like no joke. It sounded like a smoker cough. Every time I coughed, it reminded me of my dad when he had a smoker cough. Like he would cough constantly, and it sounded like rough and terrible. That's how I had it. And then we went to go get tested. The first time I got tested, they just did around the nose and then asked me questions and whatnot. And then they told me like, oh, ibuprofen, Tylenol, stuff like that will help you get better. And I was like, okay. They said get a lot of rest and sleep and drink a lot of water, a lot of fluids. I was like, okay. So all I did was drink Powerade and water. Um, and then I ate a bunch of oranges, bananas, soup, crackers. Um, and then my test came back positive, and then I got anxiety like real bad when I would try to go to sleep. Like I'd be awake middle of the night and then fall asleep and then wake up again every few hours, and it was annoying because it wouldn't help. Nothing would help me go to sleep. And then the cough got worse, and um, then I had breathing issues, which sucked because it made it worse to sleep because I would like rotate, try to adjust myself to sleep better, and it just couldn't breathe right, and I couldn't even talk without like having to stop and then keep going and then stop and then to breathe and then keep going, and then I would like hold my side. That's how much pain I was in. Like I would hold my side, and my sister would be like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, you just having trouble talking and breathing." And she's like, "Oh, yeah, that sucks. Maybe you should like go back to sleep and whatnot." And I was like, "Okay." But even before they told me I was positive, I quarantined myself in my room just to be on the safe side. And then when I found out I did have it, I still quarantined myself. And then if I had to get out of my room, I put on my mask and then go to the bathroom, or if I needed water, when I would go in the kitchen with my mask and then go back in my room, take my mask off, and then just do that routine over again. But every time I did it, the breathing was the most difficult part because when I would cough, I would feel like my lungs were going to pop out. And then I would have trouble breathing afterwards. So it'd be like this long, nasty cough and then trying to breathe. And I puked a few times, but not as much as I thought I would. And I did not have diarrhea, thank God. Um, so my sister's coworker led her a oxygen test thing, and I was asleep, and my sister comes in. My room was dark, and I see this light from her phone. She's like, "Hey, we're gonna do an oxygen test." I'm like, "What the hell? What's happening? What's going on?" She started laughing. She's like, "We're just gonna do an oxygen test." I'm like, "Okay." So she hooked me up to this like attached this thing to my finger, and it told me my oxygen was like at 88. Then when she did it again, it said 87. She said, "Hey, we're gonna if it gets worse, we'll just take you to the hospital to get tested to see what they say." And I was like, "Okay." And I went to the hospital. I told the lady up front, said, "This it's COVID related." I'm like, "Yeah." "Do you have the COVID?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "Okay, we'll send you in." And then I was in the waiting room. And I talked to another nurse who's like, "Okay, we'll do this, and this." Like, "What are your symptoms?" I'm like, "Oh, I got, I can't breathe right. I have a terrible cough, and I have COVID." She's like, "Maybe you should have led with that." I'm like, "I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time thinking and talking. I'm basically dying, and you're sassing me." Um, so she sent me to this other place where they x-rayed me. I had to do it 3 times because they said you have to breathe in as far as you go and then let it go. And since my breathing was weak as hell, I had to do it 3 times. And so then they took me into a hallway with a fancy little chair, um, because all the rooms were occupied with people much worse than I was. They hooked me up to an IV to get me hydrated. They had me pee in a cup. They took my blood sample. Um, then they did another COVID test, which was a lot more painful because they shoved it. They didn't shove it. They gently put it up my nose, but it went like farther in. The first one they just did around the nose. This one they went like as deep as they could, and then just like pulled it out and did the other nostril. And I was like, like trying to adjust my face to it because it was uncomfortable. And then the doctor, I think, or nurse came in like, "Hey, which one's this person?" Like, "Oh, he's right there." Like, okay, it's like, well, you got COVID as you know. I'm like, yeah, no shit. Sorry for the language. And then they were like, okay, you also have pneumonia. Sometimes, apparently, um, I got it because of COVID. And I don't know what he was saying. Like, he was going too fast. And I get it. You have other patients to help, but you went too fast for my brain, dude. And he's saying something like, we're going to prescribe you an inhaler for the breathing, the zinc, and some other medication I cannot pronounce. I was like, okay, cool. So I got my prescription, well, the paperwork for it, and they said, okay, you can go to any pharmacy to pick it up. And I was like, okay. Then I was like, well, cool. I got prescribed medication for this COVID and pneumonia. So after that, my sister was like, "Oh, well, do you want to go see the hot light up neighborhoods? Because everybody had like their Christmas decorations up and everything." So I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I was like, we were in the car, mask up, and we were just like driving around, which was really nice because I hadn't been out in like days. So when I got home, I told her, "Yeah, gotta get my prescription." He's like, "Oh yeah, the pharmacies are closed today. We gotta go do it tomorrow." And I was like, "Okay." So I went back into my room because that's all I could do. So it's quarantine. I still quarantine myself. Um, and so I went and got my medication the next day. I had to take zinc for a week, and then I had to take the other thing for like twice, 2 times for 10 days. They gave me like 20 pills, so I take it twice a day for 10 days. And I was like, okay. I just finished it yesterday, so hopefully I won't need it again because they on the prescription bottle it says no refill, so that's good. They said that one was to stop the spreading of the virus, and I was like, cool. And I never used the inhaler because suddenly after they prescribed it to me, um, prescribed it, prescribed it, prescribed it. Sorry, it bothered me when I said it. After they gave me the inhaler, I didn't really need it. My breathing started being fine after that, and the coughing kind of like evened out after all the cough drops, the fancy cough drops, um, and whatnot, and all the water and all the soup and all the orange juice and crackers started helping me out. Oh, and a bunch of Jello. Jello is something I've been eating a lot of, and and it kind of like the cough slowly went away, but it's not bad now. But I still have some remnants of it. Like it's not like to the point where I'm hacking up a lung. It's just like kind of thing. It doesn't hurt. It's just like nothing basically. And I did lose my smell last week, and it came back after a few days. And yeah, I'm sleeping normally now. I had to ask the nurse lady, like, hey, what can I do for my sleep? Because I'm having a hard time sleeping. Every hour I wake up, and then it take another hour for me to fall back asleep, and then I wake up and yada yada, start the whole process over. She said, oh, maybe you should take some melatonin. That's what we tell our patients, or that's what we give our patients every now and again if we can't sleep. And I was like, okay. So I bought that with my zinc and my other medication. And the funny part was, me and my sister were confused because all they had was the gummy zinc. She's like, I wonder if that works. I'm like, maybe. Who knows? Well, I'll have to try. She's like, okay. Because we couldn't find anything else. And then she's like, oh, I'll go to a different store and try to buy it, and I'm like, that's okay, don't worry about it. We'll just get it here since it's here. And I must say, my sister was a champ through this whole thing. Like she helped me out a lot because I could not move. I could not like talk. I couldn't do anything. Like I stayed in my room the entire time. When my brother and my other sister came by to visit on Christmas, I couldn't even say hi because I was locked in my room. And then they're like, okay, well, tell him he'll get better. If he needs something, just let us know. And then, um, they they just they heard me cough a lot. Like they're like, is that how he sounds like all the time? Just like, yeah. And I was like hacking up a lung. Like my door was closed, and I kept like coughing loud, and it was a mess. Um, but through it all, my family, my girlfriend, my friends, anybody who genuinely like, it was nice to know that people cared enough to call me or text me or message me to let me know, like, hey, how are you doing? Are you doing good? Do you need anything? And I would never, ever, ever ask for anything, but it was nice to know that there were people out there who'd be like, hey, but let me know if you need something. Well, and the big, big difference now than it was then, when they called me, I had a hard time talking. Like I couldn't breathe, I couldn't talk, and couldn't talk much, um, and now I could talk a lot. Like you can't get me to shut up. It was an experience, I'll tell you that. Hmm. Not an experience I would want to do again. Nobody would, but it's still terrible. Well, that's it. That was all, everything I experienced when I was in COVID quarantine. I'll probably do another video about some other stuff that happened, but right now, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Um, Tip your waitress or waiters. Um, Follow all my medias that would be posted at the end. Thank you.